So here we are with a group of fabulous stage managers. Everybody is at a different point in their career, and I'd love to have a chance to hear how you got where you are. And I think everyone's journey is a little different. So perhaps by way of introduction, you can introduce yourself and share that journey. John.
My name is John Gray. I'm a stage manager in Toronto, based in Toronto now, although I've worked virtually every province except the north, the far north. I started theater in lighting. Well, that's not even true. I actually started in finance. I started in box office, got captivated by lighting, went to train as a lighting designer, got into the rehearsal hall, and was completely fascinated by what was happening in rehearsal hall, and stayed in the rehearsal hall. I trained at the National Theatre School. I came to Toronto, did a couple of shows here at Tarragon Theatre, then could not get work in Toronto for about 8 years. Traveled all over the country, working all over. And then actually from Theatre New Brunswick, Malcolm Black came to Toronto, did a show, and he was the reason that I came and did a show with him in Toronto, and now I travel all over doing shows again.
Great. John, can you tell us what drew you to stage management? You said the rehearsal hall. What was that?
What was that? It's the process of actors and directors exploring a text, trying to figure out what the text means for an audience. I was completely fascinated by that because a text is a story, but in fact what the actors and directors are doing is giving an audience an experience.
And can I ask what feeds your continued engagement?
A, learning, and B, people. We are, every day is working with people in unusual circumstances. Every day is different as a stage manager, and it makes it a joy.
AJ, can you share your career path with us?
Yeah, I went to the U of T Sheridan acting program and was not super successful in my first year and wanted a chance to observe the fourth years working their craft. So I volunteered to be an ASM on a drama festival production and learned what a stage manager did, which I didn't fully know before. Probably something you should know before going to theater school. But I realized that there was this whole other world where you could still be actively involved in the production process, but don't necessarily need to be on the stage. And so I did that, got a job from the director of that show during the summer as a stage manager for a SummerWorks show, and just kind of did smaller indie contracts over and over until I was like, oh, maybe this is something that I could do, because all of a sudden I was getting into these rooms that I would never have gotten into as an actor. I started doing dance pieces and opera, and I don't sing or dance. And my big love is musicals. So even if I'd pursued an acting path, I never would have gotten to work on a musical because I can't sing or dance, and usually that's a requirement. So I was suddenly working on musicals and actively involved and got to watch all of the aspects of theater. And what I really love about stage management is it's a masterclass. You're the only person who is there from before rehearsals begin to the very closing date of the show, and you get to interact with each of the different departments and all of the cast, all of the crew, all of the designers, producers. You really get to see every aspect of what goes into making a production, and people pay you to do it.
Thank you. Anne, could you share your career path with us?
I'm Annie Murphy. I'm currently working at the Stratford Festival. I'm an East Coast girl, and I started at Dalhousie University doing midnight paint calls in high school, and that kind of tweaked me to the aspect that there is more to the stage than acting. So when I went to university, I decided to take technical theater, and I realized within the first week of taking those courses, wow, I'm so lucky I found where I want to be. And I started, like John, in lighting design and stage management. I was really going to go in the lighting for quite some time, but I realized in 1987, when I was trying to lift a 60-pound light over my head on an A-frame ladder 45 feet in the air, that I couldn't do that forever, that I had to move on back into that other world of stage management. So I did move into there. And I've worked across Canada. I've been very fortunate in my career. Timing, they say, is everything, and meeting great people. And I worked at Expo in Vancouver. Was such a phenomenal experience. I was in a large venue that had everything from rock concerts to dance shows to motorcycle thrill teams from China to car shows, you name it, we did it. And it was such a great experience. And that set me on the road to where I am now, which is Stratford. And I've been there for 20 some years, and I really, really love it.
Thank you. Bradley, could you share your career path with us?
Yeah, I started university in biology. At McMaster University, I was in biology. And in my second year, I realized that I couldn't deny my love for theater anymore. I'd always done it like as an extracurricular and for fun, but so my second year of university, I decided to switch my major to a theater and film and multimedia studies degree, which I graduated with. But it was more of a liberal arts degree, and I wanted a really technical hands-on education as well. So I went back to school. I went to Sheridan for their technical theater program, and graduated from there. Like John said in the beginning, we got taught the basics in all the areas of theater, but I was gunning for stage management. I knew that's what I wanted, and graduated from school and then just started apprenticing. And I apprenticed all over the place. I was really open to traveling and to getting varied experiences, working in different sizes of theaters, different kinds of theater. And then finished my apprenticeships and joined Equity, and now I'm based in Toronto, but we go where we need to go. I think the thing that really drew me to stage management was I loved being involved in all of the different areas. I loved, we're kind of like the communication hub of a show, and I loved having conversations with all the different designers, with the director, with the actors. Being involved in all of those different areas was really exciting to me.
Katie, how did you know, when did you know, and how did you know that you were going to pursue a stage management career? And then what did you do to get yourself there?
Well, when I was in high school, I went to an performing arts high school, and tech theater wasn't really a thing at all. I, for some reason, learned how to use the little tiny lighting board that was in our drama classroom for the grid of, I think, maybe 5 or 10 lights. And then from there, every single time there was a tech thing that needed to be done, people asked me to do it because they assumed I could just do it. And I really liked having a little bit of control, I guess, of what was going on backstage, especially. And then moving on to the musicals at my high school, they offered up volunteer positions to do stage management, and I really liked it from there. So then I kept doing the weird kind of mini performance shows and the dance shows at the school, and then went on to Sheridan College for the tech program, like Brad. And from there, I did stage management and specialized in wardrobe and props as well, but I kind of always knew I wanted to keep going with stage management. I graduated last year in April, and since then I've been working as an apprentice and then stage managing other companies that aren't Equity contracts, and going on tour and things like that, and then I'm here now.
The structure of the theater when I began was so hierarchical, it was really the directors that had total control of all facets of the production, but also in the way in which they worked. And directors could do and say anything. They could yell, they could scream, they could swear, they could make actors cry. They could throw things.
Stage managers cry.
Make stage managers cry.
Stage managers were to be seen and not heard, John.
That's so true. Yeah, we were silent stenographers.
Yes, correct.
But that has really changed a lot, and especially in the past 10 years, there is a flattening of the structure, and there's a much greater respect from everybody about what everybody else is doing. I think there's an awareness about how much of it is a team effort to put on a piece of theater, and an acknowledgement of each person's contribution has become an integral part of the team effort. And then, of course, there is the whole, I use the word revolution in the sensibility towards women, and the Not in My Space campaign in theater, but how much broader it is in our culture now has changed, has affected the way we work and the way we rehearse. So yeah, and so in addition to technology is this human change.
Since leaving school in that year, which has been very busy and successful, what's one of the biggest things you've learned?
At school, I was very much like, gotta be equity all the time, only wanna do apprentice jobs. And I got some opportunities to do jobs that weren't in the realm of equity, I guess, and it was really interesting, and I found that I could be able to be an apprentice, but still be able to do stage management, because I really like being the stage manager. Not that apprenticing isn't good, but I still really liked every once in a while being able to kind of be the leader of the team, I guess, and being able to do apprenticing and balancing stage management has been kind of, I guess, a great opportunity for me. I think the biggest lesson I've learned so far is, even though you're not the stage manager, especially when you're the apprentice, that you're still just as important on the team. I kind of like try and think, like, if I'm ever, I guess, in a moment where I'm like, what I'm doing is, if what I'm doing is, I guess, kind of relevant, or if it matters, I just kind of try and think of it with the domino effect of, if I didn't do this job, or if it wasn't done properly, kind of what the next step and what the effect is after that, I think kind of was a really big lesson to learn. Yeah, I found my past couple contracts, I've jumped around. I did a play, like a straight play, and then I did a musical, and then I did ballet. So it's really interesting to see kind of the differences in stage management between the three. I mean, the bases are all similar, but there's things that you really have to adapt depending on what kind of performance style you're doing, which was really interesting.
Bradley, now you've been out of school for a bit, but when you left and joined the industry, what was one of your biggest learns?
Yeah, I've been out of school for 4 years now, and one of the things that I really wish that I had known or paid more attention to when I was in school was how much this job can affect your lifestyle. In a lot of ways, what we do, it can dictate the way you live your life. And when I transitioned out of school, I really felt that, because when you're in school, there's structure, there's a schedule, there's a prescribed path of, okay, I need to get these credits to get this thing. It's a very clear path that's set out for you. And then when I transitioned into the workforce, it was a bit of an adjustment that I had to make to my lifestyle. And I remember teachers talking about it in school, and I kind of was like, okay, yeah, it'll be fine, like whatever. But we work sometimes difficult hours. We work hours that are opposite to what most people work. Maintaining relationships and friendships outside of that can be challenging. Also, I've basically been living a nomadic life for 4 years since I finished school. And that was a big adjustment to not, have a home, to be living out of a suitcase for long periods of time. Sometimes you have to go where the job takes you, and that might not always be where you specifically want to be at that time. But that's where you have to go for your work. And also you make commitments in that the show must go on, and like you can't. There are birthdays that are missed. There are weddings that are missed. There are holidays that are missed, and
Funerals.
and life things like that sometimes we don't get to experience because we have a show, and we can't just not go to the show.
So, Bradley, when students are in their last year in college or university, they're like stage managers of big musicals, big shows. They've got cast of 40, they have crew, technology to worry about, and then they graduate and they often end up the apprentice doing less sexy jobs, perhaps, than they did in college. And I just wondered if you'd speak a bit to that transition.
One piece of advice that I could give is, when you enter the industry, you're an apprentice, you may not be doing the glitz and the glam, jobs. But every kind of what Annie was talking about before, like every level is important. Every task is important and contributes to making this all happen. And what I did when I started apprenticing is I really I created goals for myself that I went into each contract, each apprenticeship saying, okay, I haven't done a ton of prompting. I want to focus on super hard on this contract on prompting and get really good at that. And then my next contract say, okay, I haven't done any wardrobe paperwork, so I want to really focus on wardrobe. And so I kind of gave myself these goals to really focus on and hone my craft on, that really motivated me and it was exciting for me. So I'd say give yourself little projects like that, focus on something that you can really tangibly get better at, and that might help, the transition period.
Well, Katie, how have you managed it?
Well, so I guess, I went from, at Sheridan, I did the last show there, and I went from a cast of 40 and a crew of 26 to a two-hander with just me and the SM and the director, 5 people together. That was it. So I think I just thought of, even though I left school, I'm still really fresh and really learning. I'm not going to stop learning. So just because I'm going down in the hierarchy doesn't mean I'm not as important, doesn't mean that I can't still learn how to do the job. Just because I did one show at Sheridan doesn't mean I now am the tip-top stage manager and I know everything in the biz. There's a zillion different ways to do things, and I think each time you do something, you just keep learning and keep growing, so that you're never thinking that you've peaked or you're done, I guess. Yeah.
That idea of keeping learning is so true and so important, and it's sustained me in my career about what am I going to learn, what will this director teach me, what will these actors teach me, and what the theater experience is like for an audience. What will these people bring to an audience?